What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Wham. And we're returning to Music from the Edge of Heaven, 1986. Thank you again to Mr. Solo. And the next track is A Different Corner. I'm jumping over Wham Rap 86 because it didn't download with the rest of the tracks when I downloaded the folder, which again may have just been a glitch from my computer when I downloaded the album. But at the very least, I did react to the earlier version of Wham Rap, and at some point I'll try to go back to the folder and see if I can download it properly, but I realized Wham hadn't come back for a while and I wanted to include it in this batch and I didn't have time to do that. So for the time being, we're going to jump to the first track on the second side of the record, which is A Different Corner, which is an interesting phrase. Like, it implies the existence of a first corner, or another corner at the very least. And corner typically is, the end point for two different dimensions, if not three different dimensions. And so it sounds like something which is constricting or limiting in terms of whether you're talking spatially or conceptually, experientially. Nevertheless, I wonder whether the different aspect of the title could be possibility or something new or something fresh relative to what else has been or another location. So yeah, there's a bit of poetry to the title, but the type of phrasing where, as figurative or metaphorical as it's likely to be, I feel like it could go some different ways and in very different manners. So I'll just have to see what I can catch on a first listen. This is Wham. The track is A Different Corner, and it's from their 1986 album Music from the Edge of Heaven.
I'd say love was a magical flame. I'd say love would keep us from pain. Had I been there, had I been there, I would promise you all of my life. But to lose you would cut like a knife. So I don't dare. No, I don't dare, 'cause I've never come close. In all of these years, you are the only one to stop my tears. And I'm so scared, I'm so scared. Take me back in time, maybe I can forget. Turn a different corner and we never would have met.
Okay.
Would you care? I don't understand it. For you, it's a breeze. Little by little, you brought me to my knees. Don't you care? No, I'll never come close. In all of these years, you are the the only one to stop my tears. And I'm so scared of this love. And if all that there is this fear of being used, I should go back to being lonely and confused. If I could, I would, I swear.
Thought it was going to go longer. I love it though. It's a very like ambient tune. It, you know, less like pop rock or synth pop type of tune, and more of a spacious and lush soundscape, which I suppose is only surprising in that a lot of Wham so far has either been, you know, very 80s synth pop or even, you know, sort of throwback doo-wop like Motown styled, but, you know, with an 80s flavor on top of that. Whereas this one feels like more like some of the solo George Michael stuff I've heard, where it's, you know, sort of spacious and more emotional sounding. And indeed, even the songwriting feels a bit more like what I've heard from George's solo stuff. Great vocals from him again. Like, I feel like that's just a staple, whether you're talking Wham or the solo stuff. But yeah, so it sounds like, you know, the different corner here is like that sliding doors concept, that if you just kind of made a slightly different move, or if the timing was slightly different, the entire trajectory, my mouth is not cooperating, but yes, it would be entirely different. You know, you would have not bumped into someone that you ended up bumping into and then became this huge part of your life, for better or for worse, more on that in a moment, and you would have just kept walking, and maybe you would have met somebody else, or maybe you would have, you know, found a new job opportunity, and, you know, wouldn't have been about a psycho-emotional moment, but instead something that led to like a different lane that you're then experiencing for months, years, or, you know, the rest of your lifetime. But it seems like in this case, he turned a corner, encountered this other person, and then fell in love with them, it sounds like, and that the other person is giving him some reciprocation, but seemingly not the full psycho-emotional and relationship type of commitment, in that it sounds like he would, you know, declare his love for them forever, and, you know, he'd be whatever the other person wants, but he's stopping short of doing that because I think he has a sense that the other person doesn't really want that, and he might actually lose the other person if he puts it all out there and lays it all on the table like that. And so he's in a sort of limbo, or in an imperfect situation as he sees it, in that he's, you know, almost saying like, I wish I was just alone and confused like I used to be, not hopelessly in love in this sort of, you know, unrequited love type of dynamic. And it sounds like he's even worried that he might be, you know, taken advantage of, or he's being used in some sense, which makes me think there is a physical relationship, but again, the other person isn't giving him everything, isn't giving him a full commitment, whereas he would be happy to do that. So it sounds like there's some remorse, and yet there's no going back. You, like, if only he turned down a different corner, but that's not what happened. And so he's just in this dynamic where, you know, he, again, almost no one, very few people would wish to be alone and confused, but it sounds like he's saying he almost would rather be that than what he is now, which is unable to live what is before him as he sees it, but unable to forget about it all and walk away either. So again, it feels more emotionally nuanced than a lot of the other Wham tunes I've heard up to this point. So yeah, a beautiful tune, a graceful tune, I suppose would be a good description. And again, George's voice, whether he's sort of soft and tender or going bigger and sweeping. It just has a really good sound to it. So shout out to George, shout out to Wham. Do let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.